Turkey, officially the Republic of Turkey, is a parliamentary republic in Eurasia, largely located in Western Asia, with the smaller portion of Eastern Thrace in Southeast Europe. Turkey is bordered by 8 countries: Syria and Iraq to the south, Iran, Armenia, and the Azerbaijani exclave of Nakhchivan to the east, Georgia to the northeast, Bulgaria to the northwest, and Greece to the west. The Black Sea is to the north, the Mediterranean Sea to the south, and the Aegean Sea to the west. The Bosphorus, the Sea of Marmara, and the Dardanelles demarcate the boundary between Thrace and Anatolia. They also separate Europe and Asia. Turkey's location at the crossroads of Europe and Asia makes it a country of significant geostrategic importance. Turkey has been inhabited since the Paleolithic Age, including various ancient Anatolian civilizations: Aeolian, Dorian and Ionian Greeks, Thracians, Armenians and Assyrians. After Alexander the Great's conquest, the area was Hellenized, a process which continued under the Roman Empire and its transition into the Byzantine Empire. The Seljuk Turks began migrating into the area in the 11th century, starting the process of Turkification, which was greatly accelerated by the Seljuk victory over the Byzantines at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071. The Seljuk Sultanate of Rum ruled Anatolia until the Mongol invasion in 1243, upon which it disintegrated into several small Turkish beyliks. Starting from the late 13th century, the Ottomans united Anatolia and created an empire encompassing much of southeastern Europe, Western Asia and North Africa, becoming a major power in Eurasia and Africa during the early modern period. The empire reached the peak of its power between the 15th and 17th centuries, especially during the 1520–66 reign of Suleiman the Magnificent. After the Second Ottoman Siege of Vienna in 1683 and the end of the Great Turkish War in 1699, the Ottoman Empire entered a long period of decline. The Tanzimat reforms of the 19th century, which aimed to modernize the Ottoman state, proved to be inadequate in most fields, and failed to stop the dissolution of the empire. The Ottoman Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers and was ultimately defeated. During the war, major atrocities were committed by the Ottoman government against its Armenian, Assyrian and Pontic Greek citizens. The Turkish War of Independence, initiated by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk and his colleagues in Anatolia, resulted in the establishment of the modern Republic of Turkey in 1923, with Ataturk as its first president. Turkey is a democratic, secular, unitary, constitutional republic with a diverse cultural heritage. The country's official language is Turkish, a Turkic language spoken natively by approximately 85% of the population. According to the World Factbook, 70–75% of the population are ethnic Turks, while the Kurds are the largest minority at 18%. The vast majority of the population is Sunni Muslim, with Alevis making up the largest religious minority. Turkey is a member of the UN, NATO, OECD, OSCE, OIC and the G20. After becoming one of the first members of the Council of Europe in 1949, Turkey became an associate member of the EEC in 1963, joined the EU Customs Union in 1995 and started full membership negotiations with the European Union in 2005. Turkey's growing economy and diplomatic initiatives have led to its recognition as a regional power. Etymology. The name of Turkey is based on the ethnonym Turk. The first recorded use of the term Turk, or Turk, as an autonym is contained in the Old Turkic inscriptions of the Gök Turks of Central Asia. The English name Turkey first appeared in the late 14th century and is derived from medieval Latin Turcia, the Greek cognate of this name. Turkia was used by the Byzantine emperor and scholar Constantine VII Porphyrogenitus in his book De Administranda Imperia, though in his use, Turks always referred to Magyars. Similarly, the medieval Khazar Empire, a Turkic state on the northern shores of the Black and Caspian Seas, was referred to as Torkia in Byzantine sources. The Ottoman Empire was sometimes referred to as Turkey or the Turkish Empire among its contemporaries. History. Prehistory of Anatolia and Eastern Thrace. The Anatolian Peninsula, comprising most of modern Turkey, is one of the oldest permanently settled regions in the world. Various ancient Anatolian populations have lived in Anatolia, from at least the Neolithic period until the Hellenistic period. Many of these peoples spoke the Anatolian languages, a branch of the larger Indo-European language family. In fact, given the antiquity of the Indo-European Hittite and Luwian languages, some scholars have proposed Anatolia as the hypothetical center from which the Indo-European languages radiated. The European part of Turkey, called Eastern Thrace, has also been inhabited since at least 40,000 years ago, and is known to have been in the Neolithic era by about 6000 BC. Göbekli Tepe is the site of the oldest known man-made religious structure, a temple dating to 10,000 BC, while Çatalhöyük is a very large Neolithic and Chalcolithic settlement in southern Anatolia, which existed from approximately 7500 BC to 5700 BC. It is the largest and best preserved Neolithic site found to date, and in July 2012 was inscribed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The settlement of Troy started in the Neolithic Age and continued into the Iron Age. The earliest recorded inhabitants of Anatolia were the Hattians and Hurons, non-Indo-European peoples who inhabited central and eastern Anatolia, respectively, as early as California. 2300 BC, Indo-European Hittites came to Anatolia and gradually absorbed the Hattians and Hurons. California. 2000 to 1700 BC, the first major empire in the area was founded by the Hittites. From the 18th through the 13th century BC, the Assyrians conquered and settled parts of southeastern Turkey as early as 1950 BC until the year 612 BC. Urartu re-emerged in Assyrian inscriptions in the 9th century BC as a powerful northern rival of Assyria. Following the collapse of the Hittite Empire c. 1180 BC, the Phrygians, an Indo-European people, achieved ascendancy in Anatolia until their kingdom was destroyed by the Sumerians in the 7th century BC. Starting from 714 BC, Urartu shared the same fate and dissolved in 590 BC, when it was conquered by the Medes. The most powerful of Phrygia's successor states were Lydia, Caria and Lycia. Antiquity and Byzantine period. Starting around 1200 BC, the coast of Anatolia was heavily settled by Aeolian and Ionian Greeks. Numerous important cities were founded by these colonists, such as Miletus, Ephesus, Smyrna and Byzantium, the latter founded by Greek colonists from Megara in 657 BC. The first state that was called Armenia by neighboring peoples was the state of the Armenian Oroted dynasty, which included parts of eastern Turkey, beginning in the 6th century BC. In northwest Turkey, the most significant tribal group in Thrace was the Odorizzians, founded by Teruzai. All of modern-day Turkey was conquered by the Persian Achaemenid Empire during the 6th century BC. The Greco-Persian Wars started when the Greek city-states on the coast of Anatolia rebelled against Persian rule in 499 BC. The territory of Turkey later fell to Alexander the Great in 334 BC, which led to increasing cultural homogeneity and Hellenization in the area. Following Alexander's death in 323 BC, Anatolia was subsequently divided into a number of small Hellenistic kingdoms, all of which became part of the Roman Republic by the mid-1st century BC. The process of Hellenization that began with Alexander's conquest accelerated under Roman rule, and by the early centuries AD, the local Anatolian languages and cultures had become extinct. being largely replaced by ancient Greek language and culture. From the 1st century BC up to the 3rd century AD, large parts of modern-day Turkey were contested between the Romans and neighboring Parthians through the frequent Roman-Parthian wars. In 324, Constantine I chose Byzantium to be the new capital of the Roman Empire, renaming it New Rome. Following the death of Theodosius I in 395 and the permanent division of the Roman Empire between his two sons, the city, which would popularly come to be known as Constantinople, became the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire. This, which would later be branded by historians as the Byzantine Empire, ruled most of the territory of present-day Turkey until the late Middle Ages, although the eastern regions remained in firm Sasanian hands up to the first half of the 7th century AD. The frequent Byzantine-Sassanid wars, as part of the centuries-long lasting Roman-Persian wars, fought between the neighboring rivaling Byzantines and Sassanians, took place in various parts of present-day Turkey and decided much of the latter's history from the 4th century AD up to the first half of the 7th century AD. The Seljuks and the Ottoman Empire. The House of Seljuk was a branch of the Kanikaguz Turks who resided on the periphery of the Muslim world, in the Yafu Khaganate of the Oghuz Confederacy, to the north of the Caspian and Aral Seas, in the 9th century. In the 10th century, the Seljuks started migrating from their ancestral homeland into Persia, which became the administrative core of the Great Seljuk Empire. In the latter half of the 11th century, the Seljuk Turks began penetrating into medieval Armenia and the eastern regions of Anatolia. In 1071, the Seljuks defeated the Byzantines at the Battle of Manzikert, starting the Turkification process in the area. The Turkish language and Islam were introduced to Armenia and Anatolia, gradually spreading throughout the region. The slow transition from predominantly Christian and Greek-speaking Anatolia to a predominantly Muslim and Turkish-speaking one was underway. Alongside the Turkification of the territory, the culturally Persianized Seljuks set the basis for a Turco-Persian principal culture in Anatolia, which their eventual successors, the Ottomans, would take over. In 1243, the Seljuk armies were defeated by the Mongols, causing the Seljuk Empire's power to slowly disintegrate. In its wake, one of the Turkish principalities governed by Osman I would, over the next 200 years, evolve into the Ottoman Empire. In 1453, the Ottomans completed their conquest of the Byzantine Empire by capturing its capital, Constantinople. In 1514, Sultan Selim I successfully expanded the empire's southern and eastern borders by defeating Shah Ismail I of the Safavid dynasty in the Battle of Chaldiran. In 1517, Selim I expanded Ottoman rule into Algeria and Egypt, and created a naval presence in the Red Sea. Subsequently, a competition started between the Ottoman and Portuguese empires to become the dominant sea power in the Indian Ocean, with a number of naval battles in the Red Sea, the Arabian Sea and the Persian Gulf. The Portuguese presence in the Indian Ocean was perceived as a threat for the Ottoman monopoly over the ancient trading routes between East Asia and Western Europe. This important monopoly was increasingly compromised following the discovery of a sea route around Africa by Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias in 1488, which had a considerable impact on the Ottoman economy. The Ottoman Empire's power and prestige peaked in the 16th and 17th centuries, particularly during the reign of Suleiman the Magnificent. The empire was often at odds with the Holy Roman Empire in its steady advance towards Central Europe through the Balkans and the southern part of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. At sea, the Ottoman navy contended with several holy leagues for control of the Mediterranean Sea. In the east, the Ottomans were often at war with Safavid Persia over conflicts stemming from territorial disputes or religious differences between the 16th and 18th centuries. These wars were later continued as the Zand, Afsharid, and Qajar dynasties succeeded the Safavids in Iran, until the first half of the 19th century. From the 16th century till the early 20th century, the Ottomans and Russian Empire also fought many wars. Initially about Ottoman territorial consolidation in southeastern Europe, but quickly already about mere Ottoman survival as an empire. Between the 16th and first half of the 19th century, the Ottomans, Persians, and Russians were all neighboring rivals of each other. From the beginning of the 19th century onwards, the Ottoman Empire began to decline. As it gradually shrank in size, military power and wealth, many Balkan Muslims migrated to the empire's heartland in Anatolia, along with the Circassians fleeing the Russian conquest. The decline of the Ottoman Empire led to a rise in nationalist sentiment among the various subject peoples, leading to increased ethnic tensions which occasionally burst into violence, such as the Hamidian massacres of Armenians. The Ottoman Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers and was ultimately defeated. During the war, the empire's Armenians were deported to Syria as part of the Armenian genocide. As a result, an estimated 1,500,000 Armenians were killed. The Turkish government denies that there was an Armenian genocide and claims that Armenians were only relocated from the Eastern War zone. Better source needed. Large-scale massacres were also committed against the empire's other minority groups such as the Assyrians and Greeks. Following the Armistice of Mudros on 30 October 1918, the victorious Allied powers sought to partition the Ottoman state through the 1920 Treaty of Chevreuse. Republic of Turkey. The occupation of Constantinople and Smyrna by the Allies in the aftermath of World War I prompted the establishment of the Turkish national movement, under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal Pasha, a military commander who had distinguished himself during the Battle of Gallipoli. The Turkish War of Independence was waged with the aim of revoking the terms of the Treaty of Chevreuse. By the 18th of September 1922, the occupying armies were expelled, and the Ankara-based Turkish regime, which declared itself the legitimate government of the country in April 1920, started to formalize the legal transition from the old Ottoman into the new republican political system. On 1 November 1922, the newly founded parliament formally abolished the Sultanate, thus ending 623 years of monarchical Ottoman rule. The Treaty of Lausanne of 24 July 1923 led to the international recognition of the sovereignty of the newly formed Republic of Turkey as the continuing state of the Ottoman Empire, and the Republic was officially proclaimed on 29 October 1923 in Ankara, the country's new capital. The Lausanne Treaty stipulated a population exchange between Greece and Turkey, whereby 1.1 million Greeks left Turkey for Greece in exchange for 380,000 Muslims transferred from Greece to Turkey. Mustafa Kemal became the Republic's first president and subsequently introduced many radical reforms with the aim of transforming the old, Ottoman Turkish state into a new secular republic. With the surname law of 1934, the Turkish parliament bestowed upon Mustafa Kemal the honorific surname Ataturk. Turkey remained neutral during most of World War II, but entered the closing stages of the war on the side of the Allies on 23 February 1945. On 26 June 1945, Turkey became a charter member of the United Nations. Difficulties faced by Greece after the war in quelling a communist rebellion, along with demands by the Soviet Union for military bases in the Turkish Straits, prompted the United States to declare the Truman Doctrine in 1947. The doctrine enunciated American intentions to guarantee the security of Turkey and Greece, and resulted in large-scale U.S. military and economic support. Both countries were included in the Marshall Plan and OEC for rebuilding European economies in 1948, and subsequently became founding members of the OECD in 1961. After participating with the United Nations forces in the Korean War, Turkey joined NATO in 1952, becoming a bulwark against Soviet expansion into the Mediterranean. Following a decade of Cypriot intercommunal violence and the coup in Cyprus on 15 July 1974 staged by the EOKAB paramilitary organization, which overthrew President Makarios and installed the pro-Gnosis Nikos Samson as dictator, Turkey invaded Cyprus on 20 July 1974. 9 years later, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which is recognized only by Turkey, was established. The single-party period ended in 1945. It was followed by a tumultuous transition to multi-party democracy over the next few decades, which was interrupted by military coups d'etat in 1960. 1971, and 1980, as well as a military memorandum in 1997. In 1984, the PKK, a Kurdish separatist group, began an insurgency campaign against the Turkish government. The Kurdish-Turkish conflict to date has claimed over 40,000 lives. Over 3,000 Kurdish villages were burned by Turkish security forces and hundreds of thousands of Kurds displaced, and Kurdish political parties were banned. Peace talks were launched in 2012, but hostilities restarted in 2015 following the Saruk bombing. Since the liberalization of the Turkish economy during the 1980s, the country has enjoyed stronger economic growth and greater political stability. In 2013, widespread protests erupted in many Turkish provinces, sparked by a plan to demolish Gezi Park but growing into general anti-government dissent. Administrative divisions. Turkey has a unitary structure in terms of administration, and this aspect is one of the most important factors shaping the Turkish public administration. When three powers are taken into account as the main functions of the state, local administrations have little power. Turkey is a unitary, not a federal system, and the provinces are subordinated to the center. Local administrations were established to provide services in place, and the government is represented by the governors and city governors. Besides the governors and the city governors, other senior public officials are also appointed by the central government rather than appointed by mayors or elected by constituents. Turkey is subdivided into 81 provinces for administrative purposes. Each province is divided into districts, for a total of 923 districts. Turkey is also subdivided into 7 regions and 21 sub-regions for geographic, demographic and economic purposes. This does not refer to an administrative division. Ankara, Kirklareli, Edirne, Tekirdağ, Çanakkale, Balıkesir, Bursa, Yalova, Istanbul, Kocaeli, Sakarya, Dilsa, Zonguldak, Bolu, Bilecik, Eskişehir, Kütahya, Manisa, İzmir, Aydın, Muğla, Denizli, Burdur, Usak, Afyon, Isparta, Antalya, Konya, Mersin, Karaman, Aksaray, Kırşehir, Kırıkkale, Kankiri, Karabük, Bartın, Kastamonu, Sinop, Çorum, Yozgat, Nevşehir, Niğde, Adana, Hatay, Osmaniye, UK.